All right, what's going on, people? How's everybody doing today? And let's go live here. We're gonna go start doing this live stream. And what I'm doing today, so this is an activity, an exercise that um, I pretty much do anytime I'm feeling stuck. And that is simply overcome creative. Let's see, horizontal phone camera. Can we do it? Yes. Horizontal. Here we go. Horizontal. Horizontal camera. Come on, let's go. Where's it at? Got the horizontal switch here. Save. Share link. Get started. Preview. All right. Let's preview this. Ah, here we go. All right, cool. So going live here. Actually, you know what's funny is I invited some people on Threads. I invited someone to do a live stream with me on Threads, but no one has taken me up on the offer. So that is upsetting to me. But with that said, let's do our live stream here. Go live. And go. Yes, what do I do when I get stuck? Pretty much just this. I sit down and I try to let my mind. Hey, I'm streaming. All right, so I pretty much just start streaming and just do what I call copying. So I pretty much copy whatever artist I'm into at the time. I just copy their drawings for hours, maybe even days, until I feel like I get unstuck. Because not only does this do I feel like I build up new visual libraries, but it helps me develop new ideas, mold my skills into a certain direction, and not only that, but I get to study some of my favorite artists. And the most important thing is really just to like get out of my own head. Another way I do this is just to do abstract painting, abstract artwork. But I feel as if just copying other drawings is actually pretty helpful to me because I just love seeing various artists pen, brush, or mark making. And you can learn so much. So let me see what we got here. We've got some interesting ideas here, but no real drawings left in this book. Oh, here we go. Here's a great drawing to copy. So Kimberly wants me to say Michael. All right, you got it. Kimberly, Michael. Yes. Is there anything else you would like me to say? I am totally open to say things, by the way, so long as they are appropriate and, not non-offensive. Say Michael. Now, I will say that I am picky about some of the things I say because I've been tricked into being a Mo from The Simpsons by saying things accidentally that I've, you know, like a prank call type thing. But I try to be aware and not do that anymore. And you know what? Let me see. Let me go like this. I'm gonna go grab a brush pen. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna grab a brush pen here. And this is another item that I usually like to use. So this is a rOtring 600. I love this pen because it can hold so much ink. But some of this stuff really isn't great for ink drawing. Let me mess around with some brush pens. Brush pen and brush pen and a brush pen and a marker. Let's mess around with some different supplies here. Brush pen and some markers. So let's just start this drawing right up here. We're just gonna take a brush pen, one of my favorite supplies. Good old brush pen here. and just sketch out this little city that we've got. So let's just see how Vincent van Gogh would make brush marks, right? How would he make marks? Just these, he'd probably be much more expressive, much more confident by the time 1888 happened. He'd probably be moving really, really fast along, but I at least want to capture some of his design here. And let's see. So he's got this, and definitely, trying to learn from somebody's marks. It can be really challenging because you never really know if something was like done on purpose or just done really quickly. But I think you can really learn a lot if you copy other artists' drawings. Now, I'm not going to sell these. No, I'm not going to try to sell prints of these. Now, if someone was like, "Hey, I like the way you copy Vincent. Hey, let me buy one of your drawings," I would totally sell it. But I'm not going to offer these up as like prints or anything. Plus, Vincent van Gogh's, sketches, they're all in a public domain, so there's technically, no legal issue with trying to sell his work, unless you're literally forging it and then trying to sell it like a real thing. That's different. But um but for me, it's all about just making sure that I can learn from his brushwork. I can learn from some of the ideas that he's presented, some of the way he moves his pen, and there's just something so expressive about Vincent van Gogh that it is so worth to study his drawings more, even maybe more so than his painting, because what you'll learn from his drawings is, in my opinion, the skills that he carried over into his paintings that so many people adore. And it's just like this wonderful, beautiful, like, expressiveness and like free freestyling, I guess. Is that even a word we can use? Is freestyling? Just a level of like freestyling, and then variety as far as brush marker work goes. But as you can see, I'm really just copying this other page here. This is how. Oh, here's my cat. Hello, Mr. Cat. Here, look. This is my cat. Oh no, he's walked away. He took a big poop in the cat litter, in the litter crate. What do they call it? Litter box? And now he's here to say hello. He's excited because his cat is home. Kathleen is home. My girl Kathleen is home. She's the best. And just looking at these marks, you just pick up so much, even if it might not be exactly right. You could really get into the mindset. You can learn so much about an artist just by the way they make marks. And I don't want to get like too pseudo intellectual, philosophical about this. Some people can like, go and dive so deep into the brushwork and just like be so compelled by the beauty of the brushwork. But for me, I feel like there's this way to um, just get an idea of the artist's personality, like more in depth, right? Were they really uptight and rigid? Were they free and expressive? Were they, did they draw things perfectly matched out, or are they more about design? And how do they design? How do they see? How do they interpret? I guess a lot of people say it's about learning how to see, but I think it's really, about how do people interpret? How do artists interpret things? How do artists interpret the world around them? So, while I'm doing this, I might as well share some of the things that I'm using right now. So this is a brush pen. Can't even remember what this was, but if you look up the models, FL2F brush pen. It's a popular Japanese brand, but it doesn't say Pentel brush Japan, made in Japan. Pentel is a popular brush pen. I just can't remember the name. FR, just know FR, FL2F, and you can probably find the brand here, but but popular Japanese brand of brush pen. And one thing I love about using brush pens is that they just capture a different look anytime they capture that brushing look without having to actually use a brush, which is nice. Because I really think that this helps you get used to like painting and just getting an idea of like how to get a feel for the paintbrush, the ever masterly paintbrush. I feel like I'm holding a paintbrush sometimes. And yo, Michael says they see numbers, composition, and color. What do you mean, Michael? Can you expand on that? What do you mean they see numbers? I can't say I've ever considered that. Like maybe mathematicians see numbers, but I don't know about how artists interpret. Maybe a genius mathematician might see numbers. By the way, this stand right here, and I have in front of me, is the 5-position easel. And the cutest thing about it is the fact that there's a cat right under here. Let me see if I can actually show you. Let me see if I can show you my cat that's under here. I'm going to be surprised in a second here. Okay. So there is Scout. Hey, bud. Look over here. You see cat under there. Hello, cat. There it is. Just say hello. You see a tail. Anyway, so if you have cats, this is like the perfect easel for drawing because, it gives your cat a space to hang out. Everybody's cat really just wants to hang out with them sometimes. And instead of having them sit on top of your canvas, and, results may be different depending on the cat, but, your cats really just want to be with you. They just want to hang out with you. And if you give them a place to hang out, like under your easel, then they won't stand on top of your easel, which is totally great. Yes, he's awesome. Your cats will find a place under your easel. Maybe that's the ideal situation, but again, everybody's cat's different. You never know what they'll be up to. Cats all have, their personalities, and honestly, it's like they have new interests every moment of the day. One second they want to play with a bottle cap, and another second they want to eat your hair. So cats are great. I love cats. And I would probably do a live stream featuring cats one day. But right now, just focusing on the artwork here. So, just building up these pieces. When Michael Woodward paints, he sees the triangles and squares. Awesome, Michael. Hey, Michael. If you email me your email address at huzzah@huzzahcreative.com, if you ever email me at my email address, a way to contact you, I'm totally open to inviting you onto my live stream. I was thinking about this. I have no way to contact you. And, if that's something that you want to do, which you mentioned last time you were open to doing, if that's something that you're open to do, you are totally invited. You are welcome, and I look forward to having you on. But I need to be able to connect with you. I know I can connect with Omizu, and honestly, I should probably send a message over to Omizu to see if he'll jump on, but he's probably busy. Omizu's always too busy for me now. He doesn't have time for a lowly artist such as myself. Totally kidding. One thing I just love about Vincent is like his expressive and interesting lines. Like these are just, I just find these lines so interesting. And his way of making smoke, they're just very, very interesting. I could probably look at them for days. But this is probably what I'm gonna do for the next hour or so, next couple of hours. I'll just be talking about artwork and drawing and some of the stuff that I'm using. Again, this is a brush pen. I wish I could remember the name. I know this. So Pentel. I'm pretty sure it's made by Pentel. It's Japanese. But even this brush, this is also a brush pen. And the difference between these two brush pens is that this one is good because you can squeeze it. Kurotiki or Kurotiki or Kuratiki or Kuratoki or whatever. I'm not sure the exact name, but what's different is that this one has a hard piece, and sometimes it's nice. It feels better. And this one is a soft one. They're both refillable, But what you'll find is that this one, if you're starting to run low on ink, you could squeeze it a little bit and get more paint out or brush ink out. Whereas this one, you don't really get that luxury of being able to squeeze out the ink. So you kind of have to just figure out a nice balance of how you store it. So here we go, just listening, getting out of my own head, right? Just copying, not trying to think about what I have to create or like how to be more creative or like, what's creative or not. I'm just copying. Like creativity, trying to come up with a painting idea, composition, designing. Like, most people like to ask artists, oh, how long did it take you to paint that? And it's funny because the painting itself could take, I don't know, anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour. But the things that come into play in order for that to happen to some artists, there's like minus the years of practice or ideation or whatever, there's the planning of the composition, the thinking about it. And just, sometimes it could take a long time before an art piece that you actually want to make comes to fruition. And that could be weeks, months, probably not years. I don't think necessarily years. Maybe it could be years, or it could be by accident, right? There's this great book called The Creative Act by Rick Rubin. I wish I could tag books in here. Let me see if I can tag new products in here live. Tag new products. Let's see. No, I cannot tag a new product. No, I can't tag new products. But anyway, if you're looking for a book to really spark your creativity, I highly recommend Creative Act by Rick Rubin. Fascinating book. Obviously, people, when you're looking for creative advice, you want to find someone that you can trust. And Rick Rubin is an absolute phenomenal music producer and really, really great thinker as far as creativity goes. And I find it interesting that Rick Rubin wrote this book, The Creative Act, because it suggests that everybody is creative. Everybody is creative to an extent. Everyone, yes, even you. That means you are creative. And he even goes as far as to say that every act is an act of creativity. Every act is an act of creativity. And whether it's a thought or an idea or a line or a business idea, it is an act of creativity. Conversation, even a conversation, opening lines of conversation with somebody is a form of creativity. That's what they say. That's according to what Rick Rubin says. So, don't take my word for it. Read the book. It's really good. It is really, really a great book. And it's great to help you get unstuck because, I think it's when it comes to a book on humanity and creativity, I think it's probably one of the best books out there because, creativity is really one of the only major things that separates us from animals, right? I mean, creativity, the ability to create tools, the ability to brush, come up with ideas on our own, the ability to speak and write and read and share ideas and tell stories. I mean, that's so unique to humankind that is basically that is basically what we do. It's basically all we're good for. Just kidding, right? We'll have machines that do all the hard stuff in a couple of years. Yo, Omizu, let me send you. Omizu, I'm gonna send you a link on Instagram if you want to jump on. Let me see here real quick if I can pop in and out without losing the stream. All right. Did we lose anybody? All right. Well, anyways, Omizu, I just sent you a duo live stream if you want to jump on. But if you don't, I understand. If you don't, my feelings will only be mildly hurt, and I may have to dwell on this invite for years and years. But yes, Omizu, you are invited. So here we go. We're gonna go just little brush marks for the distance. Little brush marks for distant objects. And then it looks like there's like desert stuff here. I don't even know. There's just so many brush marks. It is just fascinating. All the such a variety of brush marks that Vincent van Gogh made in this piece. It is just so fascinating. And you know what happens that I'm looking at now that I'm probably making a mistake is Vincent probably laid this out in larger sections. I'm drawing it section by section, but what he probably did is he probably laid it out in sections. And this ultimately would lead to, more easy to fill in final design. They say sometimes the difference between how a child draws and how an adult draws, according to some book that I read lately, is that a child learns to draw by just following from left to right. And adults draw by taking big sections, big shapes of areas, and then filling them in however they want. So how you would see a child draw is that, they draw from left to right. So pretty much what I was doing, I draw like a child sometimes. But how an adult would do it is they would, take these big chunks of sections and then they would do them in big chunks of sections and then fill them in. And I think that makes it easier. So I don't know what that says about me, about how I'm drawing right now. I guess if you're copying it, it depends on if you're copying, because I definitely do the block ins of the big shapes and all that, the typical drawing methods. But I also think that sometimes it's nice to draw like a kid. But we could all learn some stuff from kids because they maintain their creativity, right? They're not their creative efforts are not always hampered by teachers and people who try to tell them exactly how things should be. Yeah, they kind of figure out their own thing. And as Picasso once said, it took me 15 years to draw, 5 years to draw like Raphael. It took me a lifetime to draw like a child. So, it could be, I think the idea is it's difficult to unlearn some of the things that you're taught. And I'm just going to draw these marks going all the way across. This honestly, this probably won't look very close to what Vincent made because it's much smaller. His original drawing was 19 by 24 inches, so almost 2 feet by 2 feet. But as far as this is concerned, one thing that I think you can learn a lot from of just copying Vincent's work is the art of mark making, the art of like drawing trees in a very interesting way. And that's ultimately what I want, is like how Vincent drew trees. It's so interesting because it's just his trees are just filled with so many little markings, and you could totally get lost in those little markings. And they weren't like random either. You could see that they're very, very, very precise. Like, even me, I'm, doing some unnecessary movements here, but his, you look at his work and you think, oh, it's a mess. It's a mess. It's just all these marks everywhere. Like, I can do that. I can just copy all of Vincent's marks. But here's the thing, from what I understand, based on all my readings and listenings to his letter. What's up, Junvelli? How you doing? Omizu goes left to right. Very practical. All right, that's cool. Sounds practical. That makes sense too. I mean, that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of doing both, right? Like, I just blocked in some of the bigger areas, and now I'm going left to right. So I don't remember what book I read that in, but here's what's so interesting about Vincent van Gogh's work. And, what's interesting when you try to copy it, when you try to copy Vincent's work, what you'll learn about art is absolutely amazing. And I'm about to share some of the stuff that I learned is that your habits, your style is almost always going to shine through, no matter what, right? Like even though I'm looking at Vincent's marks, right? I could see, to me these look like random crazy marks, right? Just all over the place. But if you actually study these marks and try to like make them yourself, you'll see that they're like almost every single one's like perfectly placed next to each other. They're all very like strategic and planned, and it's just absolutely fascinating. And even if I tried, I, if I tried really, really, really hard, I probably could match some of these marks. But the truth is like my habit just does not, my style, my personal habits, my personal way of just doing things. My hands just do not want to, just do not want to work in this fashion, right? Like having this perfectly outlined next to each other. And that's where Vincent's personality really shines through, right? You can really see it in his artwork. Like these marks that he makes are not random. Maybe they might seem random, but they are also they're random, but they're also like specific. I don't know how to describe that. Like how would somebody describe like random but specific? Like there is a purpose. There's a purpose to the chunks and the areas that are all put together, and like there's a shape, a language of his shapes and marks. Like he won't make a mark like this, right? That I made. He would make like really specific marks that are like right next to each other. And maybe I should be practicing that, but definitely at some level, you know, something I'm going for is just to hone my own way, because what you will find is that as you start to copy drawings from artists that you really like, they have certain way of doing things. And if you try to copy their work long enough, you'll realize that you'll either get it or you won't. And if you don't get it, the only reason is because you have certain ways of doing things, habits, ways that you were taught, certain ways of doing things that are just like you. They're you, and that makes your art unique. So I don't think it's necessary to break out of that unless it's a really bad habit. I don't know, like what could possibly be a totally bad habit that no artist should ever have, right? There's not. It's that would be like an absurd thing to say. I've met artists. Actually, no, I haven't met this specific person, but I know one artist who has a very shaky hand. I don't know what the the challenge is for that artist, but their hands don't stop shaking. But they make these like brilliant masterpieces because they found a way to keep painting through their physical problems. So let me see. I'm going to switch my mark making pen right now. We're going to switch to a Crayola marker. I just want to dot this countryside here. Let's just dot the countryside. We're actually gonna go. Gotta make some noises while I'm doing this. These marks are just crazy. I mean, I like to think that Vincent was way more specific about how he did his marks, but maybe he wasn't. Maybe how we view the world's masters is always going to be like more masterful than it really is. Less human than it really is. I guess is an interesting way of putting it, right? Because we like to think of masters as absolute perfectionists, greatest the world has ever seen, almost mechanical. But then you find out that they were human, that they had problems, and all that. Kind of cool. Um, but also, not as many artists documented their creative activity as much as Vincent, who wrote thousands and thousands of letters to his brother. Very rhythmic. Oh, absinthe? You think so? So I don't know. Yo, can I create a manga? Be the legend. You know what? I have not done training in manga, and that is not what I do. I'd love to be able to say that I can do anything. I'll do that, sure. But sometimes I know what I can or can't do. Like I think I could if I tried, right? Doesn't everybody? But that's just not my thing. I don't make manga. If you look at my drawings, they are far from as far from the skills needed to be a manga artist. Like I don't draw anime. I don't draw anime characters. I've never in the past I swear ever since I've started drawing, I pretty much have not drawn a single anime character that I know of. I might have something that looks like an anime character or manga character, but I've not drawn one single manga character. So there you go. I mean, I've drawn Mickey Mouse, but I have not drawn a manga character. So that is way out of my wheelhouse. Um, to answer your question, and yeah, I know what should spend my time doing and what is not in my wheelhouse. Yeah, I do not draw manga. Honestly, I probably haven't drawn manga in over 30, 20 years. I might have drawn manga in like middle school or high school, but I can't say I've drawn manga like even when I started. Yeah, I haven't drawn any manga character in like 20 years. I'm pretty sure even as a kid, I might have drawn like one manga character. I just never had that phase where I was like obsessed. I mean, I like, don't get me wrong, I like the stories. I watched Dragon Ball Z as a kid growing up. I enjoyed Pokemon, but I never got into drawing manga. So, um, and honestly, like, I think if you live in America, it's almost like pointless to try and draw manga because that's Japan has a very very strict adherence to what it means to draw manga or anime. And it has to be produced in Japan. And I don't want to shatter anyone's hope, but if you're living in the United States or the United Kingdom or Canada and you want to draw manga, but you never plan on leaving the United States, you're basically setting up yourself for failure. Like, unless, like, obviously you could transition to drawing American cartoons or coming up with your own cartoon style or comic book style or whatever. But if you're dead set on manga, you are totally screwed because manga is not made in the United States. And I'm not saying there's no artist that makes manga in the United States, but that's like pretty much the rule. Right? Maybe they might outsource to one really talented artist who happens to be living in America after they did some time in Japan working for a big manga company. But you're probably toast. You are toast. That's your dream. So never did that. Never had that as a dream. Nope. I've had other broken dreams, but never trying to draw manga. So that's the long answer. Here we go. Your hand shakes, but that's age. So Michael Weber is going to ask Vincent von Hoff. Let's hear it. I look forward to hearing it. What does Vincent van Gogh say? And yes, it is Van Gogh, according to the Dutch, which Vincent van Gogh is Dutch. And I know Omizu gets a kick out of when I say it, when I say it the right way. But that's the right way, Omizu. You're not going to say it right, don't say it at all. Just kidding. There's so many people. Van Gogh, Van Gogh, Van Gogh, as the British people like to call him. I like to say it the way the Dutch people. Van Gogh. So here we go. All right, a little bit of silence. Let's have some silence from myself talking. Oh yeah, so Mizu said there's a using absinthe and rhythm for sure. Yes, that's right. That's the word. That's the word, rhythm. Feel like Vincent had a rhythm of either like threes and fives. I think he did things in series of like threes and fives, right? So he would like do something and he would group them into like threes and fives for a lot. Not everything, but some of it. That's part of the secret. You know, you got to be in a rhythm. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Or maybe it's just simply pure confidence, right? Pure, unadulterated confidence in your mark making, not giving a dang. 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, there's definitely a rhythm that you can find. But here's the thing: he didn't have like iPhone or iPods back then. I don't think he listened to like. Excuse me. I shouldn't be doing that on a live stream, burping. But anyway, yeah, he didn't have music to make art to. I don't think, or music in the same way that we do today. As in, you know, I could just turn on my iPod. But I don't even have an iPod. What am I saying? How old am I? What year is this iPod? What year is this, people? Are we in 2002? Is this 2002? All right, iPod. Some people don't even know what an iPod is. Anyways, I don't have a. Vincent didn't have a live streaming device, and I wonder if he even had like, if they even had I don't even know what those are called. The big round discs. What are those called? What are those called? Big albums. Is that what they're called? Like a giant album? Did Vincent Van Gogh have albums? Did not. He never talks about. I've listened to his letters, and from what I remember, he doesn't really talk much about music, as far as being a part of his work. But I might have to listen to his letters again, kind of, and get a feel for some of his ideas. By the way, amazing movie featuring Vincent Van Gogh is William Dafoe. My goodness, one of the greatest actors of our time, right? William Dafoe, greatest character actors of our time, does an amazing job as Vincent. I think. Um, you know, everyone's opinion is different. I think you know, there's this episode on TV that painted Vincent as this like sad, depressed kind of guy who's just like lonely and you know, and I understand that interpretation of him, but I thought Vincent's interpretation was much more interesting because um, you know, Vincent, according to his letters, according to stories, like Vincent had quite the personality. He got thrown out of bars. He would argue with people about his artwork. He cut off his own ear. That's not some guy that's like he convinced Paul Gauguin to move in with him and start an art commune. Like that's not somebody who's like super quiet and introverted and like just lonely all the time. You know, that's definitely an extroverted person who can accomplish something, right? Somebody who literally traveled throughout Europe, did all sorts of paintings outdoors, connected with artists, wrote tons and tons of letters to his brother, and constantly stayed in communication with other talent artists he found talented, like Paul Gauguin, competed with other artists that were local, asked prostitutes if they would sit for him and paint. Like that takes confidence. There's artists today who are deathly afraid of even going outside with a sketchbook. Now, I think that speaks. He was the first emo. He was a social emo, and I don't think he was afraid to go, talk to people. I think the so I feel like the TV show depiction of Vincent von Gogh is a little bit kind of makes him look kind of like this guy who like didn't have much confidence. And I get it. He didn't sell a lot of paintings, and by the end of his life, through his letters, you can even see that he was starting to lose confidence. But um, I think Vincent, that he was an evangelical preacher trying to pitch coal miners on the word of G, on the word of the Bible. That is not somebody who's like that's a scared hermit introvert. Okay, that is not a scared hermit introvert. That is like, you know, do you know anybody in your life that would go out to a coal mine or anywhere, any factory, and vocally pitch, evangelize for something? No, people don't do that. And this depiction of Vincent, albeit very sweet, very tender, great acting. It's a an actor's job to interpret a character and come up with their version of it. So that aside, I think William Defoe's version of Vincent was probably like the more spot on, right? Just like very unusual guy, getting into arguments, getting into fights, cutting off his own ear, evangelizing, just going out there, having arguments, getting thrown out of bars, asking prostitutes to model for him. That just is a different type of person than what was depicted in the TV show. Um, but anyway, that's a little thought about Vincent Van Gogh. He was the first emo. Yeah, first emo. So if this doesn't spark anyone's interest in Vincent, I don't know what will. He's amazing, amazing work. People like people like William Defoe definitely totally inspired. And you know what? Hey, here's a fun fact. I got to see him do an interview live when I watched At Eternity's Gate. So that was kind of cool. William Defoe, my goodness, what a talented dude. Yes. All right. So amazing, amazing interpretation of or interpretation of excuse me, who Vincent was. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a little off. He's not, some quiet introvert sitting alone in a cabin somewhere, painting, 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 and just not being discovered. He was out there. That's the scary part, though. Someone that would be out there all the time and connecting with some of the greatest artists that the world had seen at the time in France, yet still really having trouble getting his traction. But he did. He finally, start near the end of his life, he started to get some traction, a lot of respect from other artists. But sadly, we all know the version of what happened. So, At Eternity's great. Highly recommend it. Check it out. If you like Vincent Van Gogh or just like art bios, At Eternity's great is a fantastic movie. Wonderful, wonderful movie. And very brilliantly and artistically done, too. A lot of people really, really like the I don't know what show it is. It's like about time travel, and it depicts Vincent as like this sad, lonely, unrecognized, unappreciated, like loner dude. And I think that that is a very great way to get sympathy for Bumble, but um, his personality, according to what I've read, is so different. Okay, so as we go, slash gutter punk. What is Alexa? What is a gutter punk? Alexa off. So Alexa thinks I said gutter pump, but Omizu, I don't know what a gutter punk is, and I would look it up, but I have both my phones set up to where I can't really do stuff on them right now. So if you would kindly explain, or maybe you have to remind me later, um, kindly explain what a gutter punk is, or if I just have to forget and then try to remember later. I don't know. No clue. Like I can figure out what the emo is, right? I don't know what a gutter. I don't want any misunderstandings. A platform, social media platform I've been liking a lot lately. Threads. If you're not on Threads, I mean, I think it's still early. I know it's been out for a couple years, and I avoided it for a long time. But because I was like, oh, I don't want another social media platform. But my goodness, Threads is fantastic. If you can if you're open to like writing your opinions and sharing thoughts and just really getting out there and connecting, like Threads is pretty amazing. It's like Reddit, except you don't have to join a specific subforum. The algorithm's good enough to help connect you with the people that you want to connect with, and you don't get downvoted for sharing an opinion that might sound a little bit abrasive. Like anytime you write on Reddit, you have to like carefully cultivate your words so that you don't sound too like every word has to be so crafted in a way that like, delicately, and it's just like you want to write, you know, otherwise they'll downvote you. Like you just have to be so delicate with Reddit. But Threads, it feels like you could share your opinion, and if you get to a debate or an online argument or whatever, which will probably happen, it's okay. You don't have to worry about downvotes. Like so many great ideas, I think, are lost through downvotes. And I've seen downvotes for the most ridiculous reasons, like reasons that you literally don't even understand. Why would that person get downvoted? I don't know. So here I am. I'm making lines, but here's the funny thing about Vincent's lines is somehow he made all of his lines like straight. I don't know how he did it. Maybe he changed the angle of the canvas, but like all of his lines are like pretty much like straight and right next to each other. You can see my lines have like a little curve, but Vincent's lines were something else. I don't know how he did it. He must- Or the lines slanting this way tend to have a little bit more curve, but the lines going this way tended to have a bit more straightness to them. Maybe I'm making that up. I don't. Anyway, so here we go. We're going to continue on with some of these drawings. Ugly. There are no more great artists, just a bunch of a-holes nowadays. Bunch of a-holes. What's up, Mapper? Omiz, are you bitter about something? Is something upsetting you? What's going on? Mizu is feeling some way about someone or something. But that's why you got to get on Reddit, man. I mean, not on Reddit, Threads. That's why you got to get on Threads. Threads is a fantastic place to share how you're feeling, because people either make fun of you for it, and you get to shoot back and fight fire with fire, or people will like come to your aid with thoughts and advice, which feels just as good. Wow, I get to look at Vincent van Gogh's son and how he drew a sun. Is anybody else fascinated by this? Like, I'm absolutely fascinated by how Vincent van Gogh drew suns. I am excited about this piece right now. That this is how I get out of my head. By the way, people, anytime I'm feeling like I'm lacking creativity, or feeling stuck, or like just feeling like a lack of motivation, or creative block, or just unsure what I want to do next, this is what I do. I sit my butt down and I copy artists that I like. I just copy. Now, here's the thing, right? This looks bad on live stream because people will say, "Oh, you're just copying. Like, what are you even doing? Why are you even, doing it?" But here's the thing about my live streams is I share a little bit too much about my thoughts, my ideas, and I hope that one day helps some artists get out of their own head. So that's why I do this. And you know what? Maybe no one will ever care. Maybe it doesn't help someone. But I have had conversations with people, fortunately, that have said, "Hey, it's been very helpful. I had those same, you know, thoughts, and live stream was very helpful to me." So those ideas, those thoughts matter. Those comments matter. I only hope that I could continue to do so. But anyway, this is what I do. Yes, and yes, this means that I do feel maybe not creatively stuck, but creatively, it could be a lot of things, right? Creatively stuck, or creatively unmotivated, or sometimes I like to just copy drawings because I don't have to think about skill or whatever. I just have to figure out like what that artist was trying to get at. It's nice sometimes to just not have to think, but just look and copy. I'm not forging anything. This, if someone wanted to buy this, I'd sell it. But I don't plan on selling this as like prints or anything. I don't plan on selling this as a original Von Pol. Even if I could get away with it, I don't think I would. Oh, all right. So I feel like I'm drawing like a child now. I'm drawing from left to right. I am drawing and finding all of the shapes as they go across the map, rather than filling out the big shapes first. But maybe that's how Von Hoff intended his drawings to be. Maybe that's how he drew it. I don't know. I don't know whether he went from left to right or whether he filled out the big shapes yet. But I am realizing now that I draw like a child, in a sense that earlier I said that in this book that I was listening to, it was saying how the difference between the way adults draw and, or at least color or paint, I guess, would be a little different, is that adults will paint, and they'll paint like sections, right? They will block out the house, or they'll, block out a big square or a circle, and then they'll block it out, meaning, they'll like paint, they'll paint out the main area, they'll draw it, they'll sketch it, whatever, and then they'll paint it in later. But the way a kid will draw paint is that they'll just go totally from left to right. And definitely drawing versus painting is a totally different, very different skill. Drawing helps you to do a lot of things in painting, but it isn't the end all be all, in my humble opinion. In my oh so humble opinion. All right, so Copying, not so bad. Tracing, bad. Ah, so Mizu has something against tracing. All right. Well, you know what? I have a feeling that if I was to ask Omizu why he feels that way, he wouldn't answer me. So, I'm starting to almost reach a point where like I should never ask Omizu his thoughts on things. Like just like Omizu, like I feel like I should just let you just share anything, but never really ask you why you think that because I feel like you never respond when I ask. But anyway, just let it be. Just iterate what Omizu said. Let it be. Let it be. Na, 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 na. Let it be, let it be. Yes, Idina Menzel. What an amazing and talented voice, right? Idina Menzel, who sang "Let It Go" from Frozen. Like it almost feels like that song was written exactly for Idina Menzel. No one else. Like what an amazing, talented voice. And I really wish that Idina Menzel could find even more songs that capture her voice in that way that could allow her like that was a song that I think that the Let It Go by from Frozen is absolutely spectacularly sung by Idina Menzel. One of the best Disney songs ever. So much power in her voice. Love it. We gotta get Idina Menzel more songs. Who agrees? Who thinks Idina Menzel should have more songs written for her so that you know her like she's been on Broadway. She's not lacking of any opportunities to sing, but I definitely feel like she has. She's. I still feel like Idina Menzel has so much talent, ready to just be unleashed. And maybe, I mean, I might even go on to say that musicals, which she's known for in Broadway, are actually even limiting her because I think she's got so much talent, vocal talent that just waiting to be unleashed. But that's a controversial authority. Never question Omizu's authority. So here we go. Copying this, Idina Menzel. Now people know how I feel about Idina Menzel's music. I mean, honestly, I think if Idina Menzel had the same opportunities as Lady Gaga, as far as having writers and and producers teaming up with her outside of Broadway, I think Idina Menzel would be. I don't want to try to like to instigate a debate between those two amazing, talented artists. Lady Gaga is absolutely amazing, but I'm going to. I think uh, Idina Menzel would definitely be up there with with Lady Gaga. I mean, she is up there. It's just Lady Gaga is just as a pop star, she's got so much opportunity to let her voice shine. But Idina Menzel, one of Broadway's greatest talents. Let's get more songs. I would if I would start a petition, I would be like, hey, let's get more songs for Idina Menzel. More songs for Idina Menzel. some more here. I think I've already messed up because this is supposed to be like going in a sphere, going around, and I've already kind of lost this characteristic of a sphere going around. And I can't just like, I think this is one lesson where you kind of learn you can't just make marks like this, right? That's not how you do it. You can't just cross these two pieces willy-nilly, randomly. You know, you really have to be specific as you're moving around the sun because, you know, you want to make sure that you're capturing the shape and idea here rather than, you know, just making up these random lines. And, you know, that is one I think misconception about Vincent van Gogh's work that I initially had. Maybe other people don't have the same mistake when when you look at Vincent van Gogh's work. But when I first started looking at van Gogh's work, I was like, oh, look how messy he is. He's like brilliantly messy, right? He's just this messy artist who can like make marks all over the place and somehow they look good. But I think his chaos to the uninitiated isn't really chaos at all. It's organized line work. There's a purpose to these lines, which is to, you know, draw attention to these certain shapes, right? To this circle here, and to just draw attention. And that is the mistake of the uninitiated. Who initiates the official, the unofficial YouTuber thoughts on Vincent van Gogh? Emmett Ferguson. If you want a Vincent van Gogh certification, contact me at 1-800-JUST-KIDDING. 1-800-JUST-KIDDING. If you want an official certification to be a Vincent van Gogh expert, 1-800-JUST-KIDDING. What is really cool is to study his work and look at it and just really get an appreciation for how he makes his lines. Like, it's not even organized chaos. It really is. It's like so precise. There's a rhythm. There's a music. There's like a purpose to all of his marks. And I'm not saying like each individual one is this like brilliant masterpiece that allows us to reach deep into the depths of his mind. But I think as a whole, his marks really give a lot of insight into his personality and some things. So Amisa says, I want his take on copying and tracing. Copying helps you understand mark making. Tracing doesn't help you to understand mark making. But it may train your hand to follow an existing. Right on. Yes. So, this one? No. I was gonna pour it into the egg. You can pour it into the egg. Huh? Thank you. Well, Amizu says that the difference between mark making, tracing, and copying is copying helps you to understand the mark. Right on. Yes. There's a big difference, and I think that helps you to develop your own creative personality, your own creative style. Is as you build habits for mark making, you will eventually find your own mark making habits, and you'll either find that you don't like those mark making habits and change it and adapt it to how you do want it, or you'll allow your own personal style, aka your habits, your ways of doing things, to thrive, and you'll create your own personal visual language. And I use this term style loosely. Like, there's so much drama about style. Like, people are like, oh, don't worry about style. Don't worry about style. Like, this, like, you shouldn't worry about style. Don't worry about style. And that's all that's ever answered. That's only answer people like ever give is don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But I think the truth is that style is a thing that's totally unavoidable. It is something that that comes between your habits, you know, how you do things, whether you're totally precise and perfect with everything, or combined with interests. So your habits combined with your interests. So if you're an absolute perfectionist and in habit, right, and you love color, you know, Pete Mondrian might totally appeal to you, and your work might develop a style that's more abstract, similar to like Pete Mondrian, right? I don't know if it's Pete or Piet Mondrian, but the guy who does like the blue, yellow, and red rectangle squares, I don't know, Piet Mondrian. If you don't know him, PietMondrian. But anyway, why am I copying this? So I finished a series of paintings lately, and I felt like now is a good time. You should always worry about style. Focus solely on style. That should be the first thing of Mizu going the far in the opposite direction with his wisdom. You know, I really do appreciate when people can like, you know, take a reverse side of an argument, the reverse of an argument, an idea, and like, you know, share a proposal, share a reason. You know, I can appreciate a good contrarian. As you could tell, you could probably tell by the way I express my ideas, is that, you know, I really do appreciate good contrarians. Appreciate a great contrarian. And I don't know if Omizu is joking. Sometimes you just can't tell. But here we go, draw that line, that line. And this book is called The Drawings of Vincent van Gogh by Christopher Lloyd. Very good little bio about his drawings. And, you know, it has a really great collection of drawings that, you know, if you're open to it, you can learn so much by copying the drawings in them. And of course, you can find these drawings probably online because most of Vincent van Gogh's work is in the public domain by this point. But sometimes it's nice to just have it right in front of you, ready to just be copied. Not all of the drawings are from Vincent, but a lot of them are. A lot of them are, and yeah, good to study artwork. After I'm done with this book, I'll probably do another artist. And you know what? I don't really feel as if I can draw. Well, scratch that. Uh, when I draw, I definitely notice my own personal habits shining through. Totally unavoidable. Like totally unavoidable. You can't change who you are, really. You can't change who you are creatively. And I think it's important to find that balance between the two. But if you don't have style, you're a nobody loser. Mizu. Mizu, man. So cruel. A nobody loser if you don't have a style. Yes. Wisdom of Omizu. I didn't say it. I was just repeating what Omizu said. Omizu has spoken the truth of all art that has ever existed. No, you know what? Like, let's talk about that though. I do think that style is an important thing to understand, but not so important to uh, focus on, right? But no one ever truly explains it. They just say, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it," right? But that doesn't stop anybody from really worrying about it. And you know what? I think the real question that people are asking that they want to figure out the answer to, which is that this is something that's totally um, pointless in focusing on, is how do I develop a style that revolutionizes art that people will adore and love for centuries to come and praise my name? How can I develop something like that? That's what I think the question people are really asking, because that's what people recognize as style, right? Like when they think impressionism, they think Claude Monet coming up with this idea that everybody praises for the rest of time. When they think Pete Mondrian or like Jackson Pollock, they think, oh, how do I come up with this amazing, brilliant style that a wealthy art collector like Peggy Guggenheim will one day find and be like, wow, you're the most brilliant person I've ever seen, and I want to invest in your artwork and make you world famous for eternity, right? I think that's what most people or beginning artists are trying to figure out. They're like, oh, how do I develop a style that people will recognize and admire for centuries to come? Because that's what those are, right? That's what Jackson Pollock is. That's what Claude Monet is. That's what Studio Ghibli is. That's what Disney is. Right? That's what Disney is. These are testaments of human creativity. And if you're trying to compare yourself, if you're trying to develop something like that, that's a totally different question than, how do I develop my own style? What is style? And there we go. There's my revelation for the night is, what are people really asking when they're saying, how do I develop my own style? How do I make something as long lasting and eternal and makes people want admire my art for centuries to come? How do I make something like that? Right? That's what people are really asking without trying to like sound too goofy. Not because that's what's on their mind, but they're thinking, oh well, Jackson Pollock came up with a unique style. How do I do that? Right? But those are things that are so one off that you're like that is not style. That is literally come up with inventing a new way of seeing and interacting with paint, right? That is a totally new way of interacting. That's a new way of seeing, a new way of visualizing things, like Picasso did um, with Cubism, right? It's totally new or like adapted from something that already existed but hadn't really been done in the same way, and that is pretty pointless. But trying to understand style, the generally, I think that's important. Having style means you're dead as a creator. Amazing. That's probably the funniest quote you've ever said in the history of today's live stream. The past 1 hour and 15 minutes. That's the most hilarious, brilliant thing you've ever said. If you have style, having style means you're dead as a creative, right? Wow. That is profound, my friend. Right? Wow. I'm gonna have to quote that. We're gonna write this down. Having style means you're dead. We're gonna write this down into eternity, into this live stream for all eternity. Having style means you're dead. You're dead. as a creator. Talent is not ever new, it is years of work. There we go. But like, yeah, and I can agree with that. Like, you get what I'm saying though, right? Like, I think when most people think of style, they really are thinking, hey, how can I, make something that's recognized for the rest of time? How do I make something that galleries will write stories and curators will want to recognize me for and give me recognition, and that lasts forever and changes how people see the world. How do I make something like that? That's like the question, the subtle underlying subconscious question when you're asking, hey, how do I make art that's as meaningful, as revolutionary as Picasso, as Mondrian, as I don't know, those are the only artists I can name right now, as Titian, as Rockwell, as Van Gogh, as Claude Monet, as Yayoi Kusama, as although how do I make some art that's as revolutionary as those? Because that's on those are artists that are on their mind and known artists, right? So I guess the real answer lies somewhere there. If you're worrying about that, you're worried about the wrong thing. But the truth is that style is unavoidable. You already have your own style. Maybe it's bad art style. That's cool too. Maybe your style is just bad art. Objectively bad art. It's subjectively brilliant. Cookie, were you trying to get up here? Huh? Interactive with my life. Style rant. Style is not ever new. Cookie, come here. Let me give you a hug. Show you off to the world. Best cat ever. Beautiful cat. She looks like a what's that animal? A hyena. Ah! Her angry noises are so cute. Ow. She's got nails like razors, like raptors. Okay. Got a little bit more to finish with a sketch. I have no idea how Vincent saw all of this. I guess it just comes down to spending a lot of time with things. Just got to be comfortable with spending a lot of time with your drawings. This is a fantastic pen. I absolutely love this pen. It's a rOtring 600, and it's not the best on your hand calluses, and it's not like the most fine art pen you'll ever have. But if you like just the feel of a nice heavy duty pen that's gonna be sturdy, and you could probably drop it on concrete from 6 to 10 feet. I haven't tested it at 10 feet, but I've definitely tested it at about 5 to 6 feet, and it lasts. Right, it's gonna not break as easy. This is a very heavy duty pen. There's weight. You feel the balance. You lose it, you're gonna feel it probably. So it usually helps to have a pen that has that weight, especially heavy duty. If you're out and about, you're drawing on the road, or you're not while driving. That's not safe. But if you're like drawing while like on in public, and there's like people moving around, and you might drop your pencil or whatever, or your pen. Talking about pens right now. If you think you'll drop it, like it's an absolute perfect pen. This pen is remarkable. I love this pen because it's so sturdy. It's so sturdy. It's quite amazing. And if you're clumsy like me with your art supplies and you drop them quite often, this will help last a long time. And it's refillable. This is a refillable pen. You don't need pens this fancy, right? It's a fairly expensive pen, but it is a refillable pen. And the ink refill is based on the previous stream I did. I think they last like about 40 hours. 40 hours of nonstop drawing. Maybe 60. I can't remember if it was 40 or 60 hours. 20 hours, I get it's a very big difference, but the pen is going to last a very long time. And honestly, I think all you need to do is keep shaking it. If you shake it, the ink's going to come to the front, and you're still going to have like more hours. Like when it starts to go, you could get. It feels like you could still get more, at least a few extra hours out of your pens and stuff, out of your pen. So go right here. Style's not ever new. It's years and years of work. Here we go. All right, let's see. We're gonna come down. Let's draw some of this stuff coming down here. Boom, 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 boom. Bring this down. We're almost done with the major, the hard part. This is the hard part because these are all the buildings. If you've been on our previous live streams, I've definitely said that I do not like drawing buildings. Why? Like I get drawing buildings back in the day because there's no way, but photography was just being invented, and it's hard to develop photography back then. Take photography is very, very expensive, unlike just taking stuff out of a digital DSLR nowadays, right? Things were very different. So I understand like back then drawing buildings, or if like you were an architect or something, but I can't understand. I have a hard time motivating myself to draw buildings today. Now there's some great artists that do buildings, by the way. Paul Kenton, he's one of my favorite building artists. He does like these amazing cityscapes. But if you ever watch him paint, he does live streams too. My favorite lot, but he only streams on Instagram. He doesn't stream on like YouTube. I think Paul Kenton could totally grow so fast, way more beyond his wildest dreams if he actually picked up trying to stream on multiple platforms. But as far as I've seen, he only streams on Instagram and posts stuff on Instagram. Amazingly, amazingly talented. And what he does, which is really cool, is he does these huge, huge canvases, and they're like cityscapes. But he doesn't. He like literally throws paint. He's like a Jackson Pollock, but a cityscape painter. Like if Jackson Pollock was a perfectionist rather than an expressionist, and knew how to like throw paint and figure out how to like mold it into a beautiful cityscape, that's Paul Kenton. And huge canvases, but just an amazing artist. But he only streams on Instagram. If anybody sees this and is friends with Paul Kenton, which nobody watching this probably is, although I am following him on Instagram, that's close, right? That's about like 1 degree of separation away from Paul Kenton. Except I don't like dealing with Instagram gatekeepers. Like I don't like sharing ideas and then like no one ever responds. They could at least, say thank you. But his handlers, like his agent should be like, dude, get on Instagram. You're already live streaming on get on YouTube. You're already live streaming on Instagram. Why are you not reaching the largest engine in the world? I hope Paul Kenton. This is about I don't know what his agents or representatives or social media managers are doing, or because it's not like he has a fear of live streaming. He already does it. It's like I see some of my favorite artists and I just want to help them, but I also don't want to message them and then not get a response. So is that lame? I, I don't want to share ideas because I'm afraid to not get a response. But also, like, you can't really tell somebody who's like really well, very talented, like, hey, you should get on YouTube. He's probably heard it a million times. So surely he's probably already done it. Which I guess that would be the thing that stops me more. Not that I'm scared to message him and share the idea, but he's probably already got an idea. It's just for whatever reason he stopped. Or maybe he does have YouTube live streams and I just haven't seen it. But I only see him on Instagram, so therefore that's one. But Paul Kenton, amazing, amazing British artiste, fine artist, does probably the greatest landscapes of our time or cityscapes of our time. Probably one of the greatest cityscape artists of our time. Not only is it expressive, it's beautiful, it's colorful, they're massive. I still think he could even go bigger, but and like it's like an incredible combination between like a technical drafts person that knows and understands his medium very well, mixed with like pure sheer raw expression and amazing, amazing cityscapes. Really talented guy. So really cool. But you know what? I know live streaming is not for everybody. It can be very, very, very intimidating to go on a live stream. I personally do not have that issue, but I understand people that do. Maybe there's I think I could write a book about like how to overcome your fear of live streaming. There's an idea. How to overcome your fear of live streaming. All right. Idea. Idea time. So I have to put that on a list somewhere. Now let's go to some of Vincent's work right here. We're gonna go. It almost looks like he just makes these lines right here. So we're gonna go a little bit further down. We're just gonna go some lines going up. We're gonna take a break. If not, be finished after this. Super kitsch. So you're saying that so you're calling Paul Kenton kitsch? Yeah, I mean, I guess he is pretty kitsch, but he's also really talented. I mean, people call what's that guy's name? Cat. What's that guy's name that does all Disney characters in the little villages? You know what I'm talking about. Alexa, who is the artist that does all the Disney characters in the little cute villages? Alexa off. Nope. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, this is an artist. People, not Rockwell. Rockwell's definitely not. He's got galleries everywhere. What's that guy's name? Kincaid. Thomas Kincaid. Yeah, he does Disney characters in like in little villages all over the world. Thomas Kincaid. Alexa, what is Thomas Kincaid known for? Yeah, I mean, you call him kitsch. I call him successful. Yeah, like most of his paintings that are recognize are just like, you call it kitsch, I call it great, great business. Sounds like, not saying he's not talented just because the work seems kitsch. Yeah, I mean it's kitsch, but like I don't know. I mean kitsch, I think in an art sense is somewhat. It's not derogatory, right? But it kind of like there's an undertone. Yeah, there's well, do you know what kitsch means, Kat? Yeah, but like the idea is that it's like made for like mass production and not so much like it's not like artistic for art's sake. It's just it's to capture the consumer. You know, it's very capitalist, I guess. I could be wrong, but that's my understanding of what kitsch means. Spaghetti's ready? Okay. I need like 5 minutes. Yeah, but you're not gonna have the space to eat. There's an undertone, Omizu. A guy who made paintings for Mr. Kincaid to paint on. Guy who made paintings. Well, that's cool. Thomas Kincaid I think he passed away. May he rest in peace. But I mean, pretty much like I don't think I've ever seen an original Thomas Kincaid, right? I think his galleries are all like prints or like produced in like somewhere in China. Like the originals are sent to China and then reproduced by artists in China. I don't know. I'm making stuff up right now, so don't quote me on Thomas Kincaid as I'm saying this. I don't really know. I haven't studied Thomas Kincaid at all. Like I might have read his Wikipedia like one time. So what I'm saying is not really based on fact. It's based on assumption of what the meaning of kitsch is, which some artists it's kind of rude. Mizu, are you rude? You're being rude.
Kitsch is art that's garish, nostalgic, and very lowbrow. Some people who love the aesthetics of souvenir culture think kitsch is really cool, while others think it's very poor taste. Kitsch is a German word that has been adopted into English, meaning worthless, trashy art.
See?
This stuff isn't trashy or worthless.
I know, but that's what some people. That's how some people identify kitsch.
Oh, overly sentimental. Think of a velvet painting of Elvis or plaster bust of Beethoven. Showy and gaudy. According to vocabulary.com, this might include bright colors or elaborate.
That's kitsch. That painting's very kitsch.
Popular but not high art. According to Merriam-Webster, this could include things like fuzzy dice or plastic flamingos.
Wasn't Bob Ross's this one? Omizu, I'm just trying to put you on the defense, all right? I'm just trying to put you on the defense. I like hearing your ideas. I like hearing your thoughts on art. Just putting you on the defense, man. Keeping you on your toes. Keeping you on your toes as far as artistic discussion goes. Keeping you on your toes. These who have brilliant interpretations and ideas about art. All right, so I'm almost done with this. I love as I was working on this, I really love seeing this mix in here between pen work and the work of a pen and the work of a brush. And you can really identify it as you start to go through here. And you just start to see some of this stuff blend together and some of the mixtures of like pen work and how he fills the space is just so interesting. keeping Omizu on his toes because don't get too comfortable, Omizu. Don't get too comfortable, bro. This is not a place to stay in your comfort zone. You got to push yourself with your artistic ideas. I did say, you haven't even left your seat. I like sentimental more than traditional. I did say, you know what I haven't been doing lately is I haven't been sticking to my original values of like trying to hold my viewers accountable as like a creative community here. But I know Omizu's constantly creating. Almost every time I see his channel, he's made some art within the last like 2 or 3 days. I feel like I haven't been getting as many notifications on my YouTube though, like, you know, hey, Omizu is live. Omizu is doing something really, really cool. I haven't been getting as many notifications. So I am concerned about your creative accountability, Omizu. But hope you're not feeling demotivated. Because you can tell that I'm feeling demotivated because that's what I do. What I do when I'm feeling stuck or lost creatively, or I need to get back into a groove, or I feel like I don't have ideas, or I feel like, you know, I need to work on a certain skill or a certain idea, I just copy other people's work. That's what I'm doing. I'm copying Vincent von Hoff's work. I don't know why. I don't know exactly. You know, I don't know exactly what I'm going to get out of this, except for, you know, really getting an appreciation for his brushwork and having appreciation for spending extra time on drawings like these. Well, I do know what I'm getting at. I'm explaining it right now, but how will it affect my painting? I don't know. I will say actually, when I do Vincent's drawings, they definitely affect. Yes, you have been live. Okay, but I definitely see my work doing imposter work, learning from these marketing because I know how to like position some pieces better. All right, well, everybody check out Omizu Paint's work. Very good. If you have a chance. And it's time for me to call it a night. We've been working on this live stream for a while. Let's call it a night. Let's rest our creativity. It's been had a short work day today. Isn't it nice to have a short work day? I feel like that's like really, really hard to find nowadays, but I'm very fortunate to have a job that sometimes gives us shorter work days. So with that, wrapping this up, everybody. Thank you for attending this live stream, and hope to connect you all at a future time. Happy creative ideation, and good night.